Hi guys, Jeff Westfall back with episode 2 of Fencing for the Martial Arts. Most of what I showed you last time had to do with the footwork of fencing, and I used and demonstrated with a foil, one of the 3 sport weapons. But today we're going to go with a different weapon. These are called different names in different traditions and different cultures. They're not only a karate weapon. A lot of people labor into that misperception. They exist in a lot of different systems of martial arts, going back thousands of years to South Asia at least. The people who spoke Sanskrit a long time ago in South Asia called these a trisala. You can get the beginning of trident in there because Sanskrit is an Indo-European language. Then it made its way down into Southeast Asia, into what is now Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines, where they tend to call it other things like a jabang. That's the name that I usually refer to it as a jabang. And eventually it made its way north up to Japan and through Okinawa, where they call it a sai. All those names are correct. The techniques are not always the same from art to art. So I'm sure there are going to be some people watch what I do and tell you I'm doing it wrong. That's okay, I don't mind. So we're going to apply for double sai or double jabang some of the fencing footwork that I demonstrated for you earlier. One of the elements of a sai, a jabang, is that when you thrust into something, anybody who's ever taken one of these and actually jammed it into a log or a tree or a telephone pole found out it can be painful. It can hurt your hand where it hits. I've been laboring with this problem for a long, long time. And the solution that has struck me, and I use a grip that you see more in Filipino martial arts, which is the index finger going over the hook. And for a long time, the reason for this eluded me. I've now figured out several reasons for it. Because of this particular grip, if I throw my jabang and open my hand with almost everything except that index finger, I can literally throw it and my finger catches it. Now that might seem silly, but when you practice on a solid object, take for example my target here. Now my hand was almost completely limp when I threw that, and I felt no pain in the heel of my hand or my fingers or the edge of my hand because I didn't re-grip until after it had bounced off and come back about a ½ inch into my hand. So I really like this method. It's really useful. It's not the only way to thrust by any means, but it's way less painful than some of the other methods. With certain design of swords, the handle is such that you can butt it up and get a perfect thrusting grip. But this little knob on the other end, on the business end of a jabang, does not lend itself well to putting into the heel of your hand and thrusting. That's very painful when you thrust hard. So I came up with an alternative method that I really like. Having said that, let's take some of our fencing footwork. Before we go on, I want to correct a mistake I made in the last video. My fencing teacher was very kind to say he liked the way it looked, but one thing he wanted me to come back and correct, and that is to tell you that the #1 reason for throwing this arm, I don't have to have a jabang in it, the #1 reason for taking this arm and throwing it back that way is because it gives you a little extra rotation of your core and gives you just a little bit more extension and reach. As I mentioned, it does take your arm out of line, out of being target area. You're not allowed to use it to cover target area. But John was right to impress upon me, to impress upon you, the fact that this motion imparts momentum forward and rotates my core, blading me just about as much as possible. That's all very useful. So, having said all that, sorry John, I hope that was adequate. I'm going to do a simple lunge with my jabang. Now I'm choosing to have my other jabang in a high guard back here, but it doesn't have to be. But that does help lend to the fencing technique very nicely. We also looked at a double lunge. Remember that on a double lunge, after I lunge the first time, I don't want to come up. I want to stay low. I want to really make those legs work. So one way I could apply a double lunge with my jabang is in the retracted position. Another element you're not going to see in fencing is using the pommel or the butt of the weapon as a weapon. Again, this can be very painful when you actually strike something. But again, if I just relax and pop it out there, I can hit very hard. It doesn't hurt, comes right back into my hand. Once again, I find this very useful. But I won't hit the target with that. I'm going to fall short with that and then redouble my lunge. I'm going to do a second lunge out of the first. I will happen to do a little blade work. Now in fencing, blade work means you do something with your blade, maybe a disengage, maybe a circular engagement, maybe a parry, maybe a feint. You do something with your blade. Well, what I'm going to do is something we wouldn't do in fencing, which is I'm going to go from the reverse grip out to this grip between the two lunges. So let's see what my distance looks like here. Of course, that changes what your distancing is going to be. That felt like about 2 inches too close. I'm going to try it back here a little bit. That felt a lot better. Okay, so that's an example of a double lunge. Now, I came up with another one of my own, and this is probably going to make a whole lot of you people cringe when you see it, but I think it has interesting possibilities. And that is, I'm back in my regular extended grip with the weapon, and I'm going to do a different form of a double lunge. So I'm here, I'm too far away to hit with my first attack. Let's try that again. That felt a little better. So in essence, I'm going through from southpaw to orthodox in boxing terminology, going from one lead to another. I was just playing around with this today and I thought I'd throw it up. Not necessarily a serious offering as much as it was fun to do, but I can see where you could make a home for that in certain scenarios. So anyway, that's Fencing for the Martial Arts #2. There will be more. I'm going to show you some other weapons, some little sword and knife, maybe even some kicking applications off of some of the fencing footwork. Thanks to John Yarder, my fencing teacher. I almost saluted him with the wrong hand. And hope you all enjoyed this. Take care, and I'll see you the next time.